Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon Childress. I am your principal, and I am here to talk to you today about some of the budget cuts that are taking place here in our school. If you haven't already heard, we will be experiencing budget cuts moving to the next year. So it is my job as your leader to bring you in here and clear up any questions that you have, explain all decisions that have been made, and how those decisions will affect you, and kind of what I expect of you all moving forward to help me keep us in line with this budget. So to keep the conversation flowing in a manner that we all understand, I broke it up into three questions that I'm sure that you all have because I had them. And the first one being, why are cuts being made? What effects have the cuts made, and how can you as a leader help? So answering the first one, why are cuts being made? If you haven't heard already, analysis has been done on our school. We have projected that we will be losing a large amount of students in our enrollment moving forward in the following years. So therefore, losing students causes us to lose money. So that means that cuts have to be made. It's an unfortunate thing and something as a leader I don't like doing. I don't like taking money from any of you, but it's just the cookie that's crumbled in our lap. So I want to help put the pieces together today. I want you all to see the plan that I have and the vision that I have for us and how you can help. So in order to do so, I have to explain the effects to you that are being made. And I want to first say that there's only been two accounts that have seen significant cuts in their money, and that being for reasons that I'll explain further. But in my decision making process, as far as what to cut, who to give money to, how to give, and what amount to give to that certain account, I try to keep things as general and as simple as possible, so my explanation to you all could be general and as simple as possible. So if a department spent over $500 and less than $1,000, they were asked to spend only $500 going into the next year. So for example, the Spanish department spent $834 in copies last year. I'm asking them in the upcoming year to only spend $500. That little $335 that we can save will really save our budget moving forward. So another change is if a department has spent less than $250, it's being asked to spend only $150 in the coming year. So for example, the art department spent $195 on copies last year. I'm asking them to only spend $150 on copies in the following year. So there we see a $45 difference, but all those little differences add up to the overall budget. And then if a department spent less than $500 but more than $250, they were given $300 for the following year. So we saw that with our nutrition department, who spent $450 on copies last year. And I'm asking them in the following year to only spend $300. So we save $150 if they can do that. Overall, those accounts that spent less than $1,000 didn't see much of a difference, just a couple $100 for some. And even as we mentioned with the art, they're only being asked to spend $45 less than what they spent in the previous year. So I didn't want to make too many significant changes to the budget. And I wanted to keep into consideration our mission as an administration, and that's to see to it that our core classes, so our reading, English, social studies, math, and science, are all flourishing well, because we know that is where we are judged most as an administration, as in a school. So we want to make sure and see to it that those departments all have the funds that they need to moving forward into the following year. So I said all that to say that I didn't ask those departments to make too many significant changes to their budget, but I am asking them to spend a little bit less than what they did in the following year. So for example, the science department spent $2,750 in instructional supplies last year, or no, sorry, in copies last year. I'm asking them to spend $2,500 in copies this year. So I'm only asking for a $250 difference. That's just takes the teacher finding different ways to copy a little bit less work than what they did last year. I'm not asking them to make, again, large changes to what they already have been doing. That's just asking too much of all of us here. It's going to affect us. It's going to affect us all. So my job was to make sure that it affected each and every one of you the least amount possible. Now, unfortunately, saving money and having to save money and having to cut money from places, there are decisions and some tough decisions that have to be made. And I had to make a tough decision with two accounts, and that's the band instructional supplies and the art instructional supplies. I'm asking both of these programs to spend $1,000 less in supplies than they did last year, only on the basis that I'm assuming that because we're losing numbers in the overall enrollment, that we will also lose numbers in our art and band program as well. So I'm asking that those teachers, they really try and find a way to save us that $1,000 in both of those departments, because it's a significant amount of money that we could use and put back into our core departments. That's not to say that our band and art programs aren't important to us and that we won't continue to invest in them, but we are going to pull back some of the money that we're allowing for the overall supplies in those programs. But as far as that, we were able to put a little bit of money into the library supplies account. It was only an extra $60, but the library supplies spent $1,450 last year in supplies, and we're only asking that they spend $1,500, and that's an increase for them. But the reason for that increase being that I didn't want to draw from the library supplies, because the library is a place that everybody in the building can use. It's a resource to each and every one of us, to each and every department and program. So I didn't want to pull for that, and if anything, add to it so we can make sure it had the money and it felt that they had the money they could spend to make the library the best library that we can for our students, because this is one of our main resources for our students. So pulling from that would have just felt morally wrong for me, so I didn't do that. Now, as far as changes, that's as great as the changes get. You don't see any significant changes to where teachers should be sweating and worried about how they're going to supply their room and how they're going to pay for things, and that's not the case here. And I wanted it to be that way because I want this to affect us the least amount as possible, as I already stated. So how can you as a leader help moving forward? I think the best thing that you could do as a leader is to look at how you spent your money in the previous years. Make a list of all the things that you need and that you're going to have to spend money on, and then look at some of those things on the list of the overall list and say, what can we cut out of this? What can I take out? What don't I need? What was the extra? What was I just spending money on? And if you do those and do that analysis, I'm sure that with the budget that I've allocated for each and every one of you, that we can stay within our budget in the following year. So that's the biggest thing I need from you as leaders. I need you to understand that it is not my doing and pulling and cutting money. It's not something that I wanted to do. It's just we're losing students, and losing students means we lose money. So when we lose money, we got to take what we have and work with it the best way we can.